Good afternoon or morning, everyone, or evening, depending on where you are. Today we're going to do a simple watercolor study of a maple leaf. I picked this as our reference photo. You can capture that screen, or I can provide it in the link to the video. And I've already traced it out on a piece of watercolor paper. And I guess I can put that there to probably fit. I'm just going to hold it down with that. So the objective here really is to wet everywhere in the leaf so that the water will flow nicely, and then we'll mix a few puddles of yellows, reds, greens, maybe a bit of purple, whatever we like, and that allow us to do that. I'm going to pick just a mixing brush to start and make a couple of puddles. The yellow I'll probably do, got the wrong mixing brush there. The yellow I'll probably do fairly thick, so I'm gonna just wipe up some of the water that's sitting on my palette here. Because we're gonna wet everything down, we don't want our paint to be too watery. I'm going to mix two yellows, a gamboge as well as a lemon yellow. And then I'm going to mix two reds, a quin rose, and then a pyrrole scarlet. I think you can see that in your screen. Okay, and then we'll start with our lights, and then we're going to add some darks to this mixture. I'm going to take a brush with a good point on it. This is a Viscosa Perla, and it's a good brush for doing this. And the first thing I'm going to do is just wet down the entire leaf with water, clear water, and go into all those little points that I want to make sure I get. And I'll probably do this a couple of times just to make sure I've got enough water on there. I don't want it puddling. So if you're making puddles, spread it around more. But I do want to make sure that it's evenly wet, because this is going to be critical that the whole leaf is of equal wetness. If some dries out and the other is still wet, then your paint's not going to flow nicely. And that's really what we want to do. We want the paint to flow on this. You can tip your head up and down to try and see, do you have enough wet spots? Is there, is the whole thing wet, I mean? And is there any puddles on there that you need to be aware of? Go back up to the top where you started just before you end so that you know that it's evenly wet. And then take your head and go level with the paper so that you can see if you missed any spots. So I think I've got everything that I want to, and I'm going to start with that yellow, and I'm just going to put it in where I think I want it. I'm not really being too focused on the picture itself. I just want to make sure I get my paint flowing on the paper. And then I'm going to go to my next yellow, add that into a few spots. So it's all flowing, it's all wet. I'm moving pretty quickly as well, as you can see. And then I'm going to go into my reds, drop those in. And if I want to make sure I get red right up in these points, I can just drag my brush into them to make sure I've got them. I do want to leave a bit of white here and there, just little spots of it. So I'm not going to cover everything completely. I'm going to have the water do what it wants. And I'm kind of doing this randomly. I've got my Pyro Red right now, and I'm going just in a few spots that I think could benefit from Pyro Red. And then I have, actually I had that wrong. That was my Quin Rose. This is my Pyro Red. Okay, and adding those in. I'm checking my paper. Getting my head down, seeing if there's any dry spots in there. And now I'm going to start mixing a bit of darker colors. So I want to make a brown. I'm going to take some ultramarine blue, put it over here. It's also going to help make the green, so I can put some of that blue into spots where I already put my yellow, and that's going to help make a green for as well. And if it's drying out too much, you can check it, and if it is, you can just rinse your brush off, get all the color out of it, and then just take a little bit of water and put it in the spots that look dry to you. And that's going to keep things moving the whole time that you're working. Okay. So I put a bit of blue in, but I didn't really get a nice green. So maybe I'm going to try to mix a nice green here. A lot more yellow. My yellow here is very watery, so that's why I'm not really getting a nice green out of there, but that's not bad. So maybe I'll just put the green on one side and leave the other side with the more reddish on it. Okay, and now I want to mix a darker color. So I'm going to take my ultramarine blue. I'm going to take that pyro red, and I'm going to take some of this gamboge, and that's going to make kind of a browny color. And I can put the browny color right on the ends where I want. I'm just kind of flicking my brush out so that I make those little points that you see on the edge. Okay. And I can make it redder in some areas. I can make it greener, but just define your points with the edge of that. You'll see that in the reference photo, it's quite dark along the edges of this leaf. So I'm doing that. Do it around here. While I'm there, I may as well put my stem in, like so. I can put a little bit of paint on where the veins are, just so I can mark it and know where it is as I progress through the painting as well. So it's not quite as bright as I would like it to be, so I probably need some pure color. And I can see that when I bend down, I can see that it's actually drying a little bit. So I got to keep moving fairly quickly with this coat. And I'm trying to put some brightness into it because it seems we were missing that a little bit. Okay. And then again, I'm checking the wetness. It doesn't look like it's flowing a lot. So I'm going to just randomly drop some water in. And that'll keep it moving for me. Okay, and then I want to go back with a stronger green. So I'm going to take my lemon yellow, and if you have a phthalo or a cobalt, if you throw that in, they're very strong colors, and that's going to make a nice green for you. You want a nice strong green here. I'm going to add a little bit more lemon yellow, and that looks pretty good. That's a nice strong green. Throwing that in, especially where I drop that water, because then it's going to blend out nicely. Okay. And then I want to get some more definition up here. So I'm wiping off my brush. I'm now going to use this pink up in this area. Hope I'm not covering. I'm probably blocking that for you. Some of that pink in there, like so. And then we need a nice orange. So let's take the pink, mix it with the yellow, and we get a nice orange. And we're just going to throw that in in certain spots as well. Okay, leave some of these lighter spots that you made the first time, like this nice yellow here. I really didn't save a lot of white, but I think we'll be okay. Okay, so there we go. Maybe a bit more red towards the middle again. Some more of that Quin Rose. Okay, and I'm just remarking those spots where the veins went out. And then at this point, you can take, if you have a brush with a pointy end like this, you can take it and use it to scrape out. It's either going to make a dark mark, which means the paper is still too wet, or it's going to wipe out a nice vein for you. But we'll see how that works. And we'll wait for it to dry just a bit. And then we can go in with a thicker paint. Let's use this brown again. So it was ultramarine. Bit of pyro red. And then some gamboge. And it's not that thick. I want it to be a thicker mixture, so I'm just going to back again and adding more paint to that so it's a thicker mixture. And this is going to give us some darks that I can throw in there. There's a lot of darks at the bottom. Fix this curve here. Something like that. A couple coming off these areas. Every time you do this is going to be different. It's going to look a little bit different every time. And don't fuss with it too much. Once you're done, you're good. You can also take a larger brush, rinse it out, and let's spatter some color onto there. So I'm going to take my pure yellow. I'm just going to flick some splattering there. Not all of it is ending up on the leaf. Some of it is ending outside, but that's good. I'm good with that. And then let's do some nice pink Quin Rose. Same thing. Makes little spots on the leaf and make sure painting look a bit artistic. And that is it. We can try scraping one more time. This time I'm going to try a palette knife. So I'll use this palette knife and I'll try to see if I can just scrape out some marks. So it's still a bit too wet, but I'm getting a few marks. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.